Hey everybody, Professor Gassimi here. Welcome back to the AI Agents course, CSE 491 at Michigan State University. If you are taking this class for credit, you should definitely be here. If you are just watching these videos because you're curious about AI agents, I suggest you actually skip this one. We're going to be covering things that are only relevant to people that are taking the class for credit. So unless you're interested in some of the P's and Q's of the pedagogy, I think you could skip this one and move to other lectures. But for those of you who are registered for credit, you definitely don't want to miss this lecture. What we're going to be covering is the fine details of how you're going to be assessed throughout the semester, the format of the exams, what the assignments are, how you get help, and so on. These are all going to be very important for you to succeed in the class. So what I've got here listed we're going to go through each of the tabs in this spreadsheet, which should have been shared with you by email. So you should have a copy of this. Strongly encourage you to bookmark it. I'll be updating it throughout the course of the semester to put links to assignments, lectures, and other content as we progress. So please do bookmark this if you have not already. First thing I want to cover is there's a set of key course resources here, including a GitHub repository, which we'll cover separately, not in this lecture. And then you can see here on these rows, we have links out to each of the tabs that are here in the spreadsheet, other than tab 0, which we're currently on, that covers the course materials. Okay, let's finish tab 0, and we'll just sort of sequentially move our way through each of these tabs so that you understand each of the materials here. You can, of course, read on your own time. If questions come up either from this lecture or from your own reading, you're welcome to contact me. I can clarify any concerns you have. So about this course. We covered some of this in the first lecture, so I'll do this briefly. We're interested in design, implementation, and evaluation of LLM-based agents. We're going to be covering foundational topics in LLM capabilities, prompt engineering, tool augmentation, and then we're going to progress to more advanced areas, including multi-step planning, memory management, and multi-agent collaboration. As I mentioned in the first video, I'm placing an emphasis on building hands-on systems. And because you're going to be building hands-on systems, it doesn't make sense to give you written exams. I don't know how I would give you a written exam if you're building a large hands-on system. So what we're going to be doing instead is oral exams. There'll be, throughout the semester, 3 very brief oral exams where we'll ask you to take the homework assignments that we do this semester, do a quick extension designed to take between 5 and 10 minutes, demonstrate that you can do the very quick extension. If you do, you pass. If you don't, you fail. I will explain more about that as we move through the additional tabs down here. Okay. A couple important considerations before enrolling. This is in red because I really want you to, if you don't watch any more of this video, please at least listen to this segment. I'm happy to have every kind of student with every kind of learning style in this class, but there are a couple of things you need to be aware of, given that this is a senior level elective, and you, as a senior taking an elective, can still change your mind about which class you want to enroll in, okay? The 4 things I want you to know. The first is we use an all or nothing grading system. So meaning when I release an assignment, a homework, I'm going to give you with that assignment a rubric. That rubric is going to say exactly how you're going to be graded by the TA. There's going to be points attached to certain functional requirements. If you meet the functional requirements, you get all the points. If you don't meet the functional requirement, you lose all the points. We don't do this to be draconian or to be punitive. We're doing it actually to protect you from subjectivity in the grading process. I want you to be able to predict your grade before the end of the assignment, rather than you and I having to have a discussion about subjectivity or the TA being in a rush and giving too much or too little. It creates a mess. I want to protect you, the TAs, and everybody else from subjectivity. And so we're doing an all or nothing grading system, but you'll know exactly how that grading is performed so you don't get hurt by it. Okay. The second thing is the final project's format. So last 2 weeks of the semester, you're going to get an asynchronous take-home final exam / project. It's worth 20% of your grade. I just need you to know that is not going to be a trivial assignment. You're going to be given more time to complete your homeworks than you are to complete that final assignment, even though it's not going to be trivial. That's because your homework is meant for learning. The final is meant for you to demonstrate to me what you know. Because it's a final project which is meant to examine you, like any exam, we won't be providing implementational support. Unlike the homeworks, where you can ask as many questions as you want, we'll help you with every step of it. That final project, that won't be the case. Please take note of that. If you're concerned, let me know. Third thing I want to note is that we do have oral exams. We do this because, as I mentioned, this is a systems class. You're going to be building LLMs that can call databases, can do web searches, can orchestrate across many tools. And there's not a good way for me to test you on that using pen and paper in an exam hall. So instead, what we'll be doing is conducting oral exams, which are going to assess your understanding of the material. And those are designed to last about 5 to 15 minutes max. They will consist of very simple extensions to what you do in the homework. As long as you can do the extension, you pass. If you can't do it within the time limit, you will not pass. I have in section 5 of this document a very detailed overview of the exact process that we will be using for the oral exams. I will cover it in this lecture. You can also read it on your own time. Last thing I want to mention as an important consideration are the strict deadlines. I will not accept a late submission. It's not to be punitive. It's out of a desire to be fair. In order for me to give a grade that is consistent across all students in the course, you have to be graded under consistent conditions and consistent criteria. I can't have one deadline for one student and another for another student. There are very rare exceptions to this, medical emergencies, documented disabilities, and things of this kind. But I need you to know assignments that are late for any reason, even a second late, will not be given grace. I want to be fair and transparent about that up front so that in case you're concerned about this deadline policy or any of these 4 policies, in fact, it's not too late to maybe take another senior level elective and save yourself some pain. Okay. My sincere hope is, of course, that none of you who hear this will be scared off by these 4 things. The class is not designed to be difficult or punitive in any way. So I think you'll have a great time. Just tie your shoelaces and you'll be okay. Okay, let's cover the syllabus. This is, like all syllabus, sort of the official contract between you as the student and me as the instructor. Contains some information on the course description, which I suggest you read on your own. Covers the learning objectives, which we've covered in earlier discussions, so I'll skip over this. Something we haven't covered that's important are the prerequisites for this class. If you don't know these prerequisites, I think you will have a hard time in the class. Doesn't mean you shouldn't take it, but you'll definitely have to catch up. So some of these prereqs include knowing about Python programming, understanding how to use Git, working with APIs, understanding the basics of web technology, HTTP, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and so on.
Okay.
Software setup and environment management. So this includes, putting your requirements in Python in requirements.txt, Docker, and things like that. And then finally, basic NLP/ML concepts and components. So you need to know how to call sklearn, for example. I will not be expecting of you that you implement gradient descent from scratch. That's not the purpose of this class. Okay. Some specific tools and frameworks that we are going to be using in this course, which I will be covering as we review Homework 0 together in another lecture, are Flask, Vue.js, Docker, Postgres, OpenAI's API, Socket.io, and Tailwind CSS. I will not be covering this tech stack. It's expected that if you're a senior in a computer science program, that you either have some familiarity with this tech stack or tech stacks like it, and can therefore pick it up as we go through this semester. I will be, when we get to the homework, be giving you links out to resources you can use to learn more about this tech stack. I'll also be giving you templates to ease the learning process. And given that this is an AI agents class, it'd be silly of me not to encourage you to actually use AI as you work on the assignments. So for clarity, I would love for you to use AI to facilitate your learning. Only thing I suggest is that you don't become too reliant on it, because otherwise when we do our oral exams where you won't have access to AI, you might encounter some difficulties. Okay, grading scale, this is pretty standard. You get above an 89.5, you make a 4. The rest of the grades are shown here. I will not be rounding these beyond the precision that's shown in the table. Please take note of that. Some of the things here in the key policies and considerations reflect what was already covered in the course overview, some of the big warnings. Other components I'm going to be covering in subsequent tabs. So I'll leave these key policies and clarifications here for you to review on your own time. Please do review them, because remember, this is sort of the contractual agreement between you as the student and me as the instructor in this class. Okay? Last thing I want to note here is about student responsibilities for API usage and costs. We're going to be building AI agents. A key part of an AI agent is an LLM. I'm not going to design our assignments so that they will require you to spend thousands of dollars in OpenAI API credits, but you will have to spend a little bit of money to call OpenAI. I'm going to design the assignments and have already done this for our first assignment so that it should cost you, even in the worst case scenario, no more than $20 per assignment, but I can't guarantee that. If you write a for loop that blasts the API with hundreds of thousands of requests, and you've got your credit card sitting in there with an auto refill turned on, you're going to get a nasty bill. So please be mindful of this. I don't provide API credits. That's something you're expected to cover. If you're doing it right, it shouldn't cost you a lot of money. Okay, let's move to the next tab on lectures and readings. So throughout the semester, I'm going to be updating this table that you see here with links out to lecture videos on this column and suggested readings on this column. You can see I've populated the suggested reading materials as of the time of me recording this video. I hadn't posted the links to these to YouTube yet because I'm recording. And so these will be different by the time you see it. There'll be a hyperlink on each of these three. But think of this as sort of your course calendar. You'll be able to come in here, and as a function of the week we're in this semester, you can see a preliminary set of topics, and I'll be posting the lecture videos and the reading here in tab 2. Okay? Please note that this is my first time teaching the AI Agents class. I'm really excited about it, but some of the content here may change as we go through the semester. I may change, especially towards the latter end of it. There might be a couple topics I shift around. Okay. Assignments. So what I'm showing you here is for each assignment you'll be doing in the class, that includes homeworks as white rows and the final project as the final row, as well as the exams here in yellow. I have the period where you'll be performing the work. You can see homework 0 starts on the first day of classes and is due a week after. I have the percentage of your grade that assignment is worth. In this case, homework 0 is worth 5% of the grade. This is just a demonstration of me following out the link. Okay, click this, open the tab, and you can see homework 0 is here with the assignment, which we're covering in a separate lecture. I won't be doing that here. Same is true of the submission link as well as the rubric. They're all available here on the page. Thing for you to notice at this assignment page. So other than homework 0, the assignments take 3 weeks in the case of 1 and 2, and 4 weeks, or between 3 and 4 weeks, basically, is what it's going to be. Sometimes when it's 4 weeks, it's because there's a break, like Thanksgiving or fall break that's in the middle, and so I extend it a little further. The assignments are not designed to take you a full 3 weeks of effort. I understand that you have other classes, and so I've tried to make the workload here manageable for a person who is taking more than one class. I do want to note here that you can schedule the oral exams from now. The oral exams, as you can see, basically are in the 2-week period following the submission of each of the homeworks. So homework 1 ends on 9/22. The oral exam period is from 9/22 through 10/3. Also note that the oral exams are worth as much as the homework assignments are. So it's very important that you're able to perform those oral exams doing the small extension to what you built in the homework. I emphasize this because, again, while I encourage you to use LLMs, use AI to help you as much as you want with the homework, please make sure you're using it to learn so that you're able to pass these oral exams and do well in the class. Okay? If you actually know your schedule from now, it may not be a bad idea for you to come here and schedule your oral exams via Calendly from now. Okay? If you shift out to the time period that was listed in the course materials, which you can see here is 9/22. Let's come here to 9/22. Yeah, 9/22 is this week. You can see I can click one of these and I can schedule one of the exam times. We've put more exam slots than there are students in the class, but this is first come, first serve. So if you have a particularly tight schedule, I really encourage you to come on here at the start of the semester and book your exams. Okay, if the dates change on anything here, I'm only going to move them forward, so it won't hurt you, but it's possible that the dates here might shift slightly depending on how things in the semester go. A couple of things on deadlines. First and foremost, in order for you to have your homework considered submitted, there's 3 things you have to do. You have to commit your code to GitHub. I'll be covering how you do that in homework 0, so not covered here. The second thing you have to do is submit this link here. You have to submit the form that's on this link, where you will include a video demonstrating the functionality. This is a way for you to document for the TA as well as myself for each of the rubric criteria that you met that rubric criteria. Then we can watch the video. We can very quickly see whether you did it or you didn't do it. That plus a quick inspection of your code will allow us to get through the grading in a tractable amount of time. Okay? So please note that your submission is not complete if you don't submit that form. If you submit that form late, your submission is not complete. And if your submission is not complete for any reason, you will receive a grade of 0 on the assignment. I mentioned on the course overview over here that we're strict on the deadlines. So please don't let this bite you. Just keep on top of the deadlines, do things on time. You should have no issues. Okay, I already mentioned that the grading happens through rubrics that use an all or nothing grading approach. Those rubrics are released with the assignment. As I'm showing up here, we can click this rubric if you want to see what it looks like in the case of the first homework 0. You can see I've got 3 functional requirements that are listed. And I ask you in your recorded video to show me that all 3 of these are working for the grading. If they work, you get the points. If they don't, you don't get the points. Okay. Other thing I want to mention about the grading approach is that when the TA posts your grade, which will be an issue in your personal course repository within 2 weeks of the submission deadline, it's unlikely, but it's possible they'll make a mistake. You need to request a regrade within 24 hours if you want that to be considered. And this is because the TA is a human being like you. They don't have an infinite amount of time to go back, let's say at the final week of the semester, and make changes to 120 plus assignments spread across 3 homeworks and 40 students. It needs to be tractable. So if you have an issue, speak up early so that the TA can make the correction. Okay. Extension policy. There are, again, very rare exceptions where we will grant an extension, but that's going to be difficult if you do not make that extension request 72 hours prior to the assignment deadline. The reason for that is because these assignments, you have pretty much a month to do them. Okay, and so if something has gone wrong, we'd like to know about it early so that you don't get tempted to cram at the last minute to complete the task. So if you need an extension, please make that request early. You'll also need to document the reasons for why you're making the extension. It could be an RCPD document, it could be a medical emergency, a family issue, but we need a third party to document it if you want to receive the extension. Please do read over this policy as well. There's additional details. I'm just giving you the highlights. Okay, how do you get help? Well, here I'm listing myself and a link to my Calendly office hours as well as my email. I also have the course TA listed here and a link to her Calendly office hours. So you can click this, for example, this link, pop over, and you will see that there's office hours that you can book by just clicking a link here. So if you wanted to book a 1 p.m. meeting with Sarah, you click this and you're ready to go. Okay, you'll get a time on her calendar. The steps you should use to get help. I don't suggest you go to office hours first. I suggest you post an issue on the course GitLab repository. That issues page is right here. You can see there's nothing posted because the semester technically has not started yet. This is an introductory video, but you can do that by clicking this button, and we'll be covering some of that when we go over the first homework together. Okay, if you need to, you can attend office hours with the TA if you're not able to resolve it through GitLab issues. So please post an issue, give the TA a chance to respond. I'm emphasizing this because, look, maybe a problem you have is something another student has, and then they can look through those issues on GitHub and they can get the answer to their question. So you're benefiting not only yourself, you're benefiting others by posting it on GitHub. If you can't get help from GitHub, please do go to the TA. If you can't get help from the TA, come to me. I'll help you. Okay, last thing. I mentioned in the assignments tab, that's over here in tab 3. Let's come back up, that there are these 3 oral exams. You see them? These rows that I'm clicking. Well, these are worth a pretty large portion of your grade, right? They're 12.5% each. The guidelines for how we will be conducting the oral exam and the scope, the format, exactly what we'll be doing is all documented in tab 5. Okay? I mentioned earlier that the scope of this is for each of the homework assignments. We're going to have a set of questions that are kind of, they build on what you did in the homework, a very minor extension. It's designed for you to do it between 5 and 10 minutes or so, but we're going to give you approximately 20 minutes to do it. That's what the scope of each of the exams are. So for one homework, we're going to have one exam, and they're going to be thematically related. Format-wise, they'll be conducted on Zoom. They're 20 minutes. You'll be asked to share your screen. You're going to be asked to make real-time edits to the code you submitted for the homework. Demonstrate that the functionality that we request is running, and this functionality will be novel. It will be an extension of what you did in the homework. Please also note that the exams will be recorded, and that by participating, you are agreeing to have yourself recorded in the exam. There will also be a pre-exam integrity check, so you're not allowed to use AI agents for the exam. You can use them as much as you want for the homeworks. I, again, encourage it, but you're not allowed to use them for the exam. And so we will be asking you to open up your task manager to make sure you don't have any AI agents running. If you're using an AI IDE, we will need you to demonstrate to us that the AI integration is turned off for code completion as an example, and that will be done at the start of the exam period. I already covered how you do the scheduling of the exam. Just please note that if you need to, for some reason, reschedule your exam, you need to let us know early. we have to get those exams done within roughly 2 weeks of when the homework assignment has completed, so that we can spread the work here in a reasonable way for the teaching assistants. So just if you do have to change the exam for an emergency reason, just please let us know that as early as possible. Don't wait till the last minute. Okay, the exam questions that you will be asked are going to be pre-specified by me, but we're going to be pulling them out of a hat. So I'm going to write several exam questions. The TA is going to randomly choose one at the time she meets you, and she's going to ask you that question. The only thing that might lead us to asking an ad hoc question is if we have evidence that a student is collaborating with another student or sets of students to figure out what the exam questions are among that large set that I'll be collecting. If that's the case, we will be asking you an ad hoc question during the oral exam. So better for all of you if you keep the exam questions to yourself. Let the assessment process do what it's intended to do. Okay, exam conditions are listed here. You've got to keep your camera and microphone on as we do the exam. You can't use external materials. You can't use generative AI, preloaded scripts, etc. No human help, basic exam stuff. Oral exams are evaluated on a pass-fail basis. You're only going to pass if you meet the functionality requirement, just like the homework. If you don't meet the functionality requirement, you fail. You get none of the points. This concludes the course overview. I know this was dense, and course overviews of this kind are not necessarily fun, not for you or for me, but I'm glad we're through it. Looking forward to seeing you in the next video where we'll be covering an overview of Homework 0.